range of motion, we're going to find that in our body, we're going to have some joints that are probably, you know, they're pretty common. You've probably heard of them. They're going to be ones that we tend to have show up as our problems when we get out into the field. So when you get out into the field, if we begin to look at the joints from top of our head to the tip of our toes, all right, one of the joints that you're going to run into that can, you know, can become a huge problem, TMJ. Ever heard anybody that might have had it or suffer from it or anything? Huh?
Pretty sure I have.
Oh, pretty sure. Just don't know for sure? Okay. Well, it is kind of, you know, the problems, the symptoms are pretty much straight across the board. All right. So, you know, if they come in and they're like, you know, jaw hurts, you got some cracking going on, maybe the person's got some headaches that are happening, that sort of thing, then, you know, rule out everything else, chances are, got that good old TMJ, the temporomandibular joint. All right. And basically, what we get, because based on the structure that's present, it shifts. All right, might pop out all together. You know, doesn't quite pop out like that. Usually, what happens is it locks. You know, well, as long as you get it unlocked, you're good. It's when it doesn't unlock anymore that it's going to become a problem. So the TMJ, based on those structures, like I said, we do have that fibrocartilage, which is the thicker disc. It allows all of these movements that are needed for chewing. And that's why, you know, if you have it, you might hear the popping occur in that area. Disorders in this one, in this joint, do lead to a lot of facial pain, a lot of tightening of the muscles in the face, okay? And people usually end up having some headaches with it. Not a whole lot of fun. The next joint down, the shoulder joint, also known as glenohumeral, not ha-ha humor, okay, but for the humerus. Glenoid, because of the glenoid cavity that it is existing in. Shoulder joint is one of our ball and socket joints. Now, this means we have given up stability for flexibility. All right? So basically, we've, you know, the body has said, look, I need this to be really flexible, okay? So I'm going to give up some stability for that. However, when you begin to look at the tendons and the ligaments that are present here, you would think it's a very stable joint, all right? But it's not, okay? Now, basically, it allows us to do flexion, extension, add, ab, rotate, circumduct. All the cool movements, okay? There is that glenoid labrum. That is our term for the fibrocartilage pad that's present. And it's going to be around the glenoid cavity, all right, where this ball and socket sits. There is a joint capsule present, all right, so we can see that the structure here that they're trying to represent creates a joint capsule, okay, does everybody kind of see that here? One of the things about it, definitely got some bursa that are present. All right. Then, oh, man, I think that bursitis is acting up. Oof, yes, it will be an area that bursitis will affect. This, the hip, two major areas that you'll find for bursitis. The rotator cuff. Heard of this? Look at all of that stuff wrapping around this joint. All this stuff wrapping around. Wrapping around. What do you know about it? Look at that. Ever known somebody who tore their rotator cuff? You tore it?
No, I just, my dad tore it.
Tore it? Did they happen to tell it? Where? Which one?
No, I just had like they did surgery.
Yeah.
Ties and that was one.
The longer you wait, like if somebody tears their rotator cuff, the longer they wait to have the surgery. Now, here's what the torn rotator cuff is about, okay? When we're looking at all of this structure, it only has to be a small tear in one of these, okay? It only has to be a small one. The pain, however, what I can understand, massive, okay? Some people choose to ignore it and then basically stop moving their shoulder in whatever way is making the pain worse, to a point where if they decide not to go to a doctor and get it fixed immediately, their shoulder basically locks.
He couldn't move his, like, he couldn't put his arm up in the air. It's like when
Which
he
is
that is when it, because he didn't want to do surgery. So
which is usually what happens. They can only raise to a certain amount when they tear the rotator cuff. But see, here's the other problem. Let me see. Do I have it in a slide? No, I don't. Okay, so what happens is the tear that occurs wherever it might take place, okay, wherever it might take place, the tissues immediately begin to separate. The longer you wait to bring those tissues back together, the harder it is. So basically what will happen when the tear is in place, the quicker that they can fix it, the quicker they can bring the ends together, sew them back together, and the better your chances of recovery. So rotator cuff is a very common problem that's going to show up, but the problem is you got to get people in there and get it fixed, okay? And then of course it takes a long time, probably took a long time, and lots of physical therapy.
I think he was out of work for like, I want to say like 2 months, 2.5 months, or something like that. Like a couple weeks after the surgery.
Right, and so he probably did, you know, went to physical therapy, had little exercises he had to do at home, like walking his hand up the wall and that sort of thing. Yeah, it can be a successful surgery though for the rotator cuff. But all of that structure, it is giving stability to this joint, we see that the tendon of our biceps brachii. Any idea right now at this point which muscle that's going to be? Our biceps brachii. Okay, so we've got that tendon that will run through that joint and through that joint capsule. And this is what it looks like for the structure of this joint. A tear, tiny little tear in these tendons that are existing is considered a tear of the rotator cuff. So when it happens, they'll do an MRI. They will identify which one, so that when they go in and do the surgery, they'll know which one to repair. And this is the biceps brachii tendon. Huge. Definitely for stability. But now the problem is, even though, whoops, wrong computer, even though we have this support to the shoulder, it's another one of those joints that gets a lot of damage done to it, okay? And whenever I do this one, I think about the Lethal Weapon movies and, what's his name? I'm showing my age here. Riggs and Murtaugh. Riggs. And you remember how his shoulder could pop out of place? So, because you know, the first time they bring him in, he's like in a straitjacket or whatever, and he gets himself out of the straitjacket because he can crack that shoulder and make it move. Okay, I'm really old. Y'all haven't seen this movie. Okay, and after he gets out of the straitjacket, he goes up to a wall and goes and puts it back in place, you know? And I always think about that when I'm talking about the shoulder joint. Y'all have to look it up. Y'all can Google it or YouTube it probably. And even though we've got this, all right, we do give up a little bit of the stability, because if you think about it, let's say, for example, we think about falling, all right? Let's say we're just simply walking along, but we trip over something and we go to fall, all right? What's the one way we try to brace ourselves? All right, we try to get those hands in the position of the way that we think we're going to fall. You would think that that would be this joint or this joint, okay? But what happens is it travels up to here and gets the majority of the force. Therefore, ends up being some of the problems. Now, the next joint down, elbow joint. Elbow joint. Have y'all really looked at the articulation of these bones? It's really interesting, okay? When you look at the shape of your humerus, trochleas that are present, all right? Then, when you begin to look at your ulna and your radius, you've got that old Cranian process that's existing, you've got the notch that's taking place, you've got the radial head, okay? And if you begin to look at this joint, it's actually pretty cool, all right? Therefore, you know, we think about that funny bone, which is not very funny, okay? But that's the area that you're hitting, is right there on this part of the ulna, okay? And there are some crazy nerves that are passing in this joint right here, and that can make it very interesting. But we're going to say, what, you know, because we're looking at a hinge joint right here, we're saying it's compound. What do we think of, hopefully, if you hear the term compound? difficult. Okay, something that has more than one. All right, many components together. So when we hear that term,